Acknowledge your social media obsession or any traces of it. Are you aware of how to swiftly check your screen time on your phone? If you got an iPhone, just swipe left all the way and you will instantly see all of the applications that you spend your time on. Now, sure, some apps have a lot of amounts higher than usual. Calls, emails, if you check it a lot, or text messages, which is completely fine. But then, here comes the social media applications. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on. And when you look in the metrics and you see how much time you ended up spending on it, if it's a lot, more than you expected, then something is going on, and most likely it's unusual. We need to look at social media as a magnet that has the ability to pull you away from the important aspects of life. Let me ask you directly, how many times have you had your phone or tablet unlocked in front of you? Or let's just take a tab on your computer, most likely a Chrome tab. And without even thinking, without even acknowledging it, you just unconsciously open, let's say, Facebook, and you lock your eyes on it, you open a post, and before you know it, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, or hours pass by, and you don't realize how much time you spent, or just basically straight up wasted, browsing these applications when you should have been doing something else. That's why the example of a magnet is simple, but it's very powerful. You gotta ask yourself the blunt question. Do you find yourself ignoring or neglecting the things that you usually do? Whereas nowadays, it's so easy to just give in to doing absolutely nothing and being lazy. And social media makes it so tempting to just give into that kind of thing. If you do find yourself ignoring things, is it your personal hobbies? Is it your self-care? Do you possibly have clothes in your room right now, just laying on the ground and you haven't gotten around to doing it because you always forget? Or perhaps you are more interested in opening up applications to browse the latest feeds, the newest updates, the hottest posts, so you feel like you belong somewhere. Chances are, if this is you, you feel like you need that constant source of validation, where you feel like you belong in an online community to where you would have to open the applications or websites dozens of times every single day, simply because it helps you feel like you belong somewhere with all of these people posting their structured lives, pictures, videos, and posts, and you may end up paying so much attention to it that you don't realize how much screen time you have in your phone or your tablet. And chances are, if you do realize, if you do understand, and you are hit with the reality slap that you are spending too much time on social media, to where your screen time on specific apps is so high, you may find yourself feeling guilty. Well, if the feeling of guilt comes into play here, it's a possible indication you might have an obsession. But most likely, it's not a very bad or harmful obsession straight up. Most likely, it's going to be a low building situation that will continue to stack on itself until you don't even realize it's actually happening. Now, if we focus on guilt, ask yourself once again, do you ever think that you are being manipulated to stay on the platforms without you even realizing it? The amount of times that you can open the apps on your devices back and forth is countless. I'm not even able to keep track of how many times I might open an application. And it's a little scary, but it can be controlled if you just think to yourself, do you really need to open this application right now if there's no reason to be on it? Because ideally, humans are meant to be connected with their lives, which is meaning prioritizing themselves. And it is perfectly fine for us to disconnect ourselves from all of these obsessive tendencies. It shouldn't be the other way around. It is perfectly fine, it is perfectly okay for you to spend lesser time on social media if it means that you are able to allocate more time for yourself, for self-development, to make time for the things that you enjoy, to make time for the recreational activities that you should be immersing yourself in order to grow as a human being. You have to acknowledge that if this is you, if this is an issue that is affecting you, you gotta establish a resolve that you need to get a grip on yourself. You need to get your life back together. You need to start seeing the fact that all of these social media applications could be a very costly problem if it's taking up so much of your time every single day. Sure, you might try to ignore it. You might try to pretend and say that you could stop. I could stop anytime. This isn't a problem. It's just something that everyone does. Well, if that's true, why don't you check your screen time for the past 7 days? The numbers speak for themselves. Which app have you been opening so many times to where it's actually not a good thing? But in all, social media is just an obsessive, addicting medicine that we may end up consuming so much of, that will supply us with endless highs at the cost of our own value. So like with any other activity in the world, any other product, any other resource we consume, we have to be responsible. Consuming too much is not a good thing. Consuming too little, well, speaks for itself. We have to be stuck in the middle, constantly keeping that balance. Yes, there are a lot of benefits of having social media in our lives, but we shouldn't let it take control of ourselves. We shouldn't let it dictate our lives. We are the ones who allowed the path for social media to fluctuate. So why are we letting it control us when we should be the ones at the top retaining control?